The Guadalupe Mountains National Park is a wonderful wilderness with over 80 miles of hiking trails, and it offers a variety of terrain, including desert, woodland canyons, and mountain forests. It's a favorite place for bird watchers, horseback riders, and people interested in fossils.
The park opened up in 1972 to preserve a fossilized reef, and that is in the cliffs behind us, a couple thousand feet above the desert floor. That reef formed during the Permian period 260 to 270 million years ago. So we're one of the nation's premier paleontological national parks with a wealth of fossil resources and an intact geological story that's still being studied to this day. For people that visit the park, we have a range of hiking trails, over 80 miles of trail, including up some that go to the highest point in Texas, Guadalupe Peak. And then we have a range of smaller trails in the front country that accommodate people that are on a shorter time frame and maybe don't have the energy to get up on one of those higher mountain hikes, or might be traveling with small children. The water source here, being a permanent water source, draws in all types of wildlife. So we've had mule deer, elk, javelinas, all spotted around the springs in the early hours or towards dusk. You'll find a variety of bird life here as well. And then as we start to get more rains into late summer, we'll have just a profusion of wildflowers in this general area. It's almost magical how we can have water out here in the desert, and it really is a blessing for this area to have this permanent water source. The water originates in the high country as rainfall and snow melt, and all of those limestone layers that make up the reef and the mountain chain itself are highly fissured. So any rainfall percolates down, and at about this elevation it's going to hit a real solid layer of sandstone that the water can't get through. So it forms a number of natural springs in this area. This spring in particular is a natural water source, but its flow has been impeded by pioneers that moved here in the early 1900s. They built a cement dam on the opposite side, and it creates more of this pond-like atmosphere you see here. Most of our other springs are little creeks, in some cases just small seeps with a grassy area associated with those waters.
In the days when mail was transported by stagecoach, the Butterfield Overland was an important route, going all the way from Missouri to California. The stagecoaches pass south of the Guadalupe Peak, and today tourists can walk up the short path to the ruins of Pinery Station, which was one of the old stops. The first mail delivery on the route was in 1858. Another worthwhile attraction is the Frejole Ranch House, a restored building that houses a museum dedicated to the history of local ranching. This can be reached via the beautiful Smith Spring Trail.
And there's a number of stages to the history of that house. The first two rooms were built by the Rader brothers who ranched here. They were cattle ranchers, and that was in the 1870s. But a number of families moved in and out of the ranch in the intervening years. But it was the Smith family that really built the house up to what we see in its modern day form. They were a truck farming operation. They raised about just every crop you could think of. They had a fruit orchard. They were pretty self-sufficient. In the 40s, there was another family that lived there, and they took up cattle ranching. They were the ranch foreman for an individual that owned the bulk of the park that operated as a working ranch all the way up to the park opening up in 1972.